Yo, we are going to be going live in the next minute. I'm just waiting for the notifications to get out to everybody in YouTube. This is an unscheduled show. I know I told you that we were going to be doing a show on pull-ups today, and we are going to do that on Monday and Tuesday next week. But we have a very special guest here, Kyle Weiger, who's a hand balancing pro, and he is going to teach you guys some amazing stuff about hand balancing and handstands. So don't miss out on this one. Stick around. So you want to learn how to do an awesome handstand. Well, in this show, we are going to reveal the 4 key elements to a straight line handstand that everybody is getting wrong. Now, make sure you stick around to the end, because not only are we going to take you out on the floor and show you this stuff, but we're going to reveal the biggest mistake that people are making when they're trying to do handstands. All that and more coming up.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.
Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burmeister. I am the co-founder of Unity Gym and the co-creator of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we teach you how to nourish and move instead of diet and exercise. We take driven people and turn them into superhumans. And the reason why we get such astonishing results with our members is because we've created a program that has a balance between strength and flexibility. If you want to know how we do that, you can get started by downloading the free flexibility blueprint. There's a link in this description. Now, we have a very special show for you today. This was unplanned, but we've got a hand balancing pro here, Kyle Weiger, who's actually doing a workshop with us at Unity Gym tomorrow and on Sunday. So if you're watching this later after it's been live, it's Friday right now in Sydney. Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, so the 16th and 17th of November, we have Kyle doing a handstand workshop at Unity Gym. It's not too late to get tickets. So if you're watching this show in Sydney and you want to learn how to do handstands, get your butt down to Unity Gym. Go to Kyle Weiger, that's KYLEWEIGER.com/events and grab yourself a ticket for this show. Kyle, how you doing today, man?
I couldn't be better, brother.
Yeah, awesome, man. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to be here. I am very excited just to be working out at your gym and training with you guys all week. I've learned a lot in the 48 hours that I've been here.
And so have I, man. Like, we've had a couple of sessions out there, and I've already learned more about handstands in the last 2 days than I have in the last 6 months. So that's awesome.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. It's the one thing I study just over and over and over is the straight line handstand.
Oh, man, I love it. Yeah. And, you know, for me, you know, at my level of training, I get all of my results, you know, come from doing workshops with people like you. So I'm super stoked to be doing this workshop with you tonight.
Having a coach, man, I can't stress how important that is. So many people just try it on their own, and then you think you got it, and then you go to get actual coaching.
Oh man, like you have to. It's if you want to make real gains, and like we try to give away better content for free than what people charge for. But if you really want to make improvements, you need to sort of dig deep and get yourself a coach.
Totally. My handstand practice was like growing very slowly, and then I started going to more workshops, and then week-long intensives, and then training with actual circus hand balancers, and then it just right through the roof.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let us know, what is the key insight for today? The key insight that our viewers can take away that want to get better at hand balancing.
Absolutely. Today we are going to break down the 4 essential elements to handstand, which are movement, shape, strength, and balance. So whenever you're ready, we'll hit the floor and I'll walk through how to move through these 4 things.
Let's do it. So we're going to get out on the floor. Kyle is going to coach me on how to do a handstand. And this is actually really exciting for me because for those of you that don't know, I'm recovering from a really nasty shoulder injury. So I've, back in March, I can't remember, I think it was March this year, which is 8 months ago now, I did a slap tear to my right shoulder. I also tore the supraspinatus, and the MRI also showed fluid in the bursa. I couldn't lift my arm higher than here for a month or two, and I've gone through a lot of rehab. On the back end of it, we've created a really amazing shoulder rehab program, and I'm now at a point where I feel confident to be able to start trying some things like this. So I haven't done any handstands for 8 months, except for one or two just 2 days ago with Kyle. So this is going to be fun for me because I'm going to be going out and testing my shoulder for the first time in a while. So let's get out there. Now, look, for those of you that have just tuned in or that are watching, please make sure you hit the like button and leave a comment with your name and where you're watching from so we can give you a shout out, and it helps us with the algorithm. And any questions that you have about hand balancing, put them in that comment section, because when we get back in after this little demo, Kyle's going to be here and he's going to be here to answer your questions about hand balancing. So let's get out on the gym floor and show you guys some cool stuff. So you got the mic, Kyle, so you're the one that's speaking, because I can't actually, they can't hear me now.
Okay, well, let's come on out here.
Talk them through what the 4
Yeah,
key
you go ahead
elements
and you start your hang and get a little warm. So the 4 key elements, movement comes before anything, right? Because if you're standing upright and you want to be standing on your hands, you somehow have to move to get there. You don't just get to snap your fingers and magically be upside down. Once you've moved into a handstand, then you have to dial in your shape. We've all seen the big sway back or the banana back handstand. It's not a very good shape in terms of holding for longevity or holding with integrity. Once you move into your shape, then you have to dial in the strength. Like, how strong can you get in the position? And once you have the strength to hold it, the final element for me is the balance piece, right? I find that most people are strong enough to get into the handstand once you show them the movement and the shape. And then it just becomes literally a balancing act of how not to fall over. So there's a number of different things that you can do to sort of optimize all 4 of these different elements. With the movement piece, I find move smoothly, act like you're channel your inner dancer, right? Like, be smooth entry, smooth exit. When it comes to the shape, be solid in the middle. When it comes to the strength, there's always more push. And then when it comes to the balance, I like to try to be quiet mentally. So just a few kind of quick pro tips. So we're going to go with the scissor entry into handstand. There's a million entries into handstand. The scissor is probably the most common. So we're going to move a couple things out of the way here. And then the hands go on the ground, and you're going to enter nice and smooth, bring the feet in closer to the hands. And when you kick up, Rad, I want you to think about kicking both legs at the same cadence or speed, but one just goes ahead of the other. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, kick. Smooth, right? A little fast, but that's all right. And now in the shape piece, I want you to press up through your shoulders, get taller, pull this in, squeeze your butt a little bit, okay? And now strength, get as tall as you can through the traps. Open up the hips a little bit, boom, okay? And now we're gonna let him balance. Oh, this guy's a monster. Hold it, you got this. Hold for 5, oop, come back, 4, yeah. I'm going to press you a little bit today. 3, 2, and 1. Down we go. Very good. How'd that feel?
Oh, awesome.
Pretty good? Yeah.
Feels good to get upside down again.
Yeah,
First
absolutely.
time in 8 months.
Absolutely. So you noticed how when he put his hands, he didn't start. We see people start up here. Like, I say, okay, it's time to practice handstand. And people go up here. I was like, no. The movement should be smooth to the ground. Both legs move. You hit your shape. You get strong. Lock it in, and then after that, it's just refining the balance.
Yeah, sweet. Let's come back in the office and we can talk a bit more.
Totally.
Hey, team.
Hello.
So, oh man, I absolutely love going through a big stage of learning like this, And for me, it's very exciting because I haven't been doing any handstands for 8 months. So I'm really excited to learn some cool stuff. So what can you tell the guys a little bit more about what I might have been doing wrong there that I could have fixed up?
The kick I saw was a little fast. And that's just something that you have to dial in over time, right? I've always found in handstanding, the slower, smoother entries are better. So for you, I would say probably just get a little less excited on the kick, and that actually comes from the top leg rather than the bottom leg. So when you go up into your scissor handstand, most people will thrust off that bottom leg because that's their attachment to the ground. I actually like to start with my mental attention to the other leg, the lifted one. And I let that one move up, park in place, and then the other one just follows. So if you see anyone who is good at doing, just about anything, they make the hard things look really easy. So that's my goal with the entry there. So slow down on the speed. You already have the muscle and the control. You're strong. The strength component for you is not a problem, right? I would say work on getting the tailbone tucked slightly. Now you're going to run into two diametrically opposed things. I'm going to ask you to bring your tail in but not bend in the back, right? So it's like when you start refining the straight line handstand, you're getting really picky. And that's a good thing, right? We want that attention to detail. I'm sure you do it with your movement students. Every movement matters. So for me, it's all about how picky and how like nerdy can I get about the small details. One of my, I don't know who's responsible for the quote, but one of my favorite things ever said was, anyone who can do an advanced skill is brilliant at the basics. I just love that because when I watch my coaches like Miguel or Andre go into just their straight line handstand, even though they can do things that are way more complex, when I watch them do a straight line, I was just like, man, that's so beautiful how good you are at doing something simple.
And there's a lot to be said about that because you can relate it to the way that you stand. Like when you stand, you don't stand like this. And if you tried to stand like that even for 5 minutes with your bum out and your back arch, you'd be really uncomfortable.
Right.
So the idea of trying to do a handstand like that is the same thing. So when you stand, you naturally stand straight because we're used to that. So the really hard part that I find a lot of people struggle with a handstand is that shoulder mobility and being able to get into that position where they can actually create that nice, efficient straight line. Because any deviation where your bum's coming out or your chest is coming forward or whatever it is, that causes strain on the muscles that is unrequired, right? And it's gonna make it hard to balance.
Yeah, you bring up an excellent point. So shoulder mobility is arguably the number one hindrance of most new students. Being able to get the arm past, like most people stop here because you got to think we don't naturally hang. Our arms hang here. They don't hang up here, right? That's calorically inefficient and just wildly ineffective for like survival, right? So unless you work shoulder mobility or happen to be sort of a flexy bendy person by nature, it's going to hold a lot of people back. So absolutely, when you get the shoulder stacked, the stacking of the humeral head over the radioscaphoidal joint makes it much easier to maintain the handstand. And also, you brought up a good point about when you stand up, how much effort are you really using to stand on two legs? Where you're so effective and so efficient at it that you just it's like easy. You don't have to think about it, right? So when you get, and the idea would be the same when you get into a handstand, if it's a good stack, it feels weightless. Feels weightless, like you're not doing a lot of work.
For sure. Now listen, guys, for anyone that's watching, I can see we've got a huge amount of viewers on the show, which is unreal. Two things. Number one, if you haven't hit that like button, please hit the like button. Number two, let us know your name and where you're watching from so we can give you a shout out. But number three, this show is going to finish pretty soon if you guys don't start asking some questions. So you guys have got a really great opportunity here to get some direct feedback from a hand balancing expert doing a workshop with us at Unity Gym tomorrow and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. You can get your tickets at Kyle Weiger, that's weiger.com/events. And please hit your questions up in that comment section there. Now, before we finish, let us know what the big mistake that people are making when they practice handstands. And I love this one because we spoke about this before the show, and it is exactly what I try and tell our members at Unity Gym.
I call the short name, I call it the kick and pray method. Just kicking up without a plan. You find a wall and you're just slamming your body up and down, or
even without a wall.
Or
people are doing
room,
it freestanding.
Just throwing up and then coming right back down. And it kind of comes back to this idea of like you're going to get good at whatever you practice, and that includes practicing something poorly.
So you get good at doing it the wrong way, right?
You can myelinate a really bad movement pattern, and then when it comes time to learn proper handstand, now you have to unlearn the things that you spent so much time doing. The kick and pray, banana back, just kick the feet over the head, arch the back. Man, slow down. I think the kick and pray method just comes from this big need of people wanting to get up, and I appreciate the enthusiasm, but what it lacks is any kind of structure or plan.
Well, it comes, like the same thing happens in gyms. Like we see people, if you go to a big chain gym, you have beginners that walk in, they don't know what they're doing, and what they do is they look around, and it goes back to this idea of not getting a coach, thinking you can figure it out yourself. They look around, they look at what everybody's doing, and they look at the big jacked guys, and they watch them doing deadlifts or squats or bench presses or shoulder press, and they don't understand the work that's gone into getting them there, and they just walk over over and try and replicate what those guys are doing.
Recipe
and
for
then,
disaster.
And then you see those guys a couple of years later, and they've got the worst technique, and their bodies are totally disformed because they didn't learn how to, balance their movements and do them the right way. And the same thing happens with handstands. I see it all the time, and I couldn't agree more with what you've just said. I'm always telling people, if you see people, kicking up for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then at the end of that time, they've barely spent more than 5 seconds in an actual handstand. And the nervous system remembers what it does. So if you spend time in the handstand, the nervous system over time will remember that, and that line starts to become something you can do, which is why, guys like you are teaching these drills, right? And these exercises that people are doing. And it's not necessarily, you got to remember, when you see someone like Kyle or those hand balancers on Instagram, they're showing you the cool stuff that they can do. Like, that's what everybody's doing, right? They're not showing you the workout, right? It's like the same guy. It's like what we do in our gym. When you see pictures of me or whatever on Instagram, it's not what I do in my workouts. The workouts are different to the stuff you see, right?
Yeah, the drills, the behind the scenes stuff is what as the saying goes, the drills get you the skills.
Yeah.
Right? The skills are usually the impressive thing.
Yeah. And that's the problem that people make with handstands, right? This is what you're talking about. People aren't doing the drills. They're only just trying to practice the skill. That's it. That's all they're doing. They're
it's not going to get you very far.
Yeah, I'm a poet and I didn't know it. So anyway, look at this. We've got some great engagement.
Even that rhymes as well.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got some great engagement here. Tommy, Holy K-Night is saying, watching from work. Nice one. Eunice CO is giving us a thumbs up. Thanks, Eunice. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and thanks for the engagement. Michael P is saying, hey guys, handstand is one of the hardest skills for me to learn. Shoulder mobility, wrist strength, hollow body, and full body tension have all been points that I have had to progress though. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you from my personal experience, now I am not a hand balancing expert and I do not ever proclaim to be. Hand balancing is a very small part of the UMS, but it is a part of what we do and it's something that I want to learn. And it's something that I can do, but I am not even close to mastery with it. So, and I cannot believe the amount of time it's taken for me to be able to do a mediocre handstand. And I say mediocre because Kyle might give me some props and say, oh man, you're doing really well. But it is mediocre compared to someone like this dude.
He's waiting for the props, yeah.
But it's mediocre compared to someone like this dude. So, and I just can't believe the amount of work that it's taken me to get there. But what you've got to understand is when you're doing a handstand, Michael, you are doing something that nature did not intend you to do. Nature did not intend us to get up on our hands upside down, right?
I say this a lot, you'll hear it this weekend. It's arguably the most unnatural position that you could possibly be in as a species that has evolved from Homo erectus, the upright man. We stand on feet, our eyes face forward. The most natural movement thing we can do is walking, right? And so to teach a static handstand goes diametrically opposed to what our body's naturally doing. So Michael's shoulder mobility, being able just to do the full body tension, it takes time. But like anything that's worth doing, once you get to the other side and you hit your goals, and then all it does is just motivate you to keep going.
But it's cool as fuck, so that's why.
Hey, let's not lie. It's kind of awesome, right? And
it's such a cool movement. And Michael, the adaptation that your body goes through and the strength development that happens from the pursuit of a handstand is just amazing. Like my posture has improved from the pursuit of a handstand because the way it teaches you, like if you can align yourself upside down, like the way Kyle was cueing me out there, you can align yourself standing up.
Okay, a couple of cracking questions come through. One from Blakely. Hey, Blakely, first of all, shout out. He's one of our moderators and admin for the UMS Online. He's asking, stoked for this show, can you talk a bit about neck positioning in a handstand? I'm always thinking too much about if my neck is scrunched too much, chin tucked, etc., etc. It's a good question.
That's a great question, Blakely.
Blakely. So there's three basic head positions in traditional handstanding, as I learned it from my coach, and he learned it from his coach. Head position 1, 2, 3. Now, 1, you get the benefit of looking at the ground, and there's the visual anchor of seeing where your hands are, and a lot of people need that. Now, it's not necessary for equilibrioception. Vision does help with the sense of balance, but once you get stronger in your shoulders, you can drop to head position 2, and then you find a little bit more space in the trapezius. And then the third one, or the more complex one, would be like you're looking up at your own feet. Now, which one is there any one of these that's better? Whenever I get asked these kind of questions, I always come back to what's your why? what do you want to do with your handstand? If you want to be a more advanced handstander, you should probably learn or get proficient with all three. If you're brand new to this practice and your only goal is just to get up and hold for 5 seconds, we're not even going to talk about the head positions. But if the problem with head position 1 is if you're looking, let's say, ahead of your hands, like up here in this area, you're going to be craning your neck, and that's going to bring your chest with it, and then that comes with a whole bunch of corrections that need to be made. Likewise, if you're looking down here in this general area, it's a much cleaner look for the neck. It's a little closer to neutral. My favorite, personally, is head position number 2, where I drop to here, and I'm in my normal alignment. I'm just upside down, and I can get as tall. I mean, it's just this straight push. So I love the neck position question because it really comes down to where your eyeballs go.
What I like to do, and when people ask me the same question, is I tell people that if I'm going to be looking here, I like to look up only for head position 1 that you're talking about, only just enough so that I'm like looking through my eyebrows, so I'm not like looking straight at it like that, to try to keep my head as little push back as possible.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Totally. I like, as I learned it from Miguel, and a guy that you've trained with, he said he has one that he calls kind of 1.5, right? So the head's dropped, but the eyes are still going.
Yeah.
So when I'm in my best version of that, I can kind of see this part of my hand, and my fingers are barely in my peripheral vision. But if I can see my fingers and space ahead of them on the floor, I'm looking way too far forward.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Quick shout out to Modern Day Viking here. He met you in Melbourne at Beyond Movement.
Yes.
What's your name, brother? What's your actual name so that Kyle can give you a good day as well, because he won't remember your name based off your YouTube handle. So Blakely, I hope that answers your question. If you've got another question, Blakely, please hit us up. I want to go deeper on this one for you because I know that you're working on the handstand. So Michael P is saying definitely the one skill that I should have started off with a coach. Yeah, dude, get some good coaching, man. It's going to make a huge difference.
Stephen Koknick has asked a really good question here, and I'm going to dive in because I've also trained with Miguel Santana, who I know is a coach of yours.
Yes.
And he initially, one of the first things he did in the class when there was about 20 of us, he came around and looked at all of our shoulder mobility, and he literally, put his knees in your back and pulled you into the position. So this is where you're going to need to be for the handstand. And when he came to me, and I was probably even a little bit more muscular than I am now, he pulled me in a position, and he was like, wow, I'm not used to seeing people with so much muscle that are so flexible. Mm-hmm. So what Stephen's asked here is, what is the optimal body composition for handstands? For example, can you do a great handstand as a bodybuilder with those big muscles getting in the way? Now, obviously, most hand balances, Miguel isn't a huge guy. He's muscular, but he's not a big guy, Yuri is fairly muscular.
He's pretty solid, yeah.
Simonster is very muscular. What was the guy we were talking about this morning?
Jujimufu?
But I've never seen him do a handstand.
I don't think,
Juji, the other guy that you were talking about. Showed me videos of him.
In Bali.
Devin Kelly. Yeah,
he's
great
a beast,
handstand. Great handstand.
Yeah, but they're muscular, but
they're not
bodybuilder muscle.
Yeah, but I've also seen in Cirque du Soleil, I remember seeing some athletes, some circus.
Oh, those two hand balances, the guys.
The Russians?
Guys, man. Those guys are muscly dudes, and they were perfect handstands.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes down to, and I'm sure you guys will agree, how much you're prioritizing mobility, because you can be super muscular and also super flexible and bendy. There is a point where hypertrophic restriction comes into play, and that is, by that I mean your muscles are just so big that they restrict where your joints can go. But it's, man, you got to be
pretty jacked.
You got to be jacked. It really comes down to the fact that most bodybuilders prioritize dysfunctional styles of training to pack on as much meat as possible. It's not a functional way to train. Any decent bodybuilder with a good level of consciousness will admit that. And so, I hope that helps answer your question, Stephen. You can be super muscular and jacked and still get into a really nice straight line handstand.
Totally.
Yeah. So the modern day Viking in Melbourne, his name's Bjorn.
Yeah.
Bjorn, yeah, he works with you. Cool. Thanks for tuning in, Bjorn, and thanks for watching the show. So we've got time for one or two more questions here. So Holy K Knight, Tommy is saying, I have to regress to get my less than average handstand back because excessive volume of dips and lack of proper stretching took a toll on my overhead mobility. Tommy, you're working with us here at the gym, so what you are going to go through in the next 6 months of training with us face-to-face is going to completely change your movement practice. Don't worry about that. But regression is one of the most powerful things you can do. You know, I was working hard on hand balancing and I was progressing, but I still just couldn't kick up and do a handstand. And after a couple of years of doing it, I said, you know what, stuff this. I'm going to go back and do what my coaches told me to do at the start and focus on just that, which for me at the time was working on my core alignment down on the ground using some front and back body lines and face-to-wall handstands. I did 5 sets of face-to-wall handstands a day for 6 months, and guess what? At the end of that time, I could do a handstand. So there absolutely is a place to sometimes recognize that you're not getting the results and maybe you just need to go back and master the basics.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I often joke that I have like a little Miguel sitting on my shoulder. Yeah. When I'm at the gym by myself doing drills that I know maybe he would rather have me doing other things, it's like back to the wall, back to the wall, back to the wall. And like I'm doing my one arm stuff right now, and the most valuable drill I have is chest to wall, straddle split, one arm and lift there and just hold. Nothing fancy, just hold and hold and hold until you can't hold anymore and then come down. Yeah,
it's amazing. All right, guys, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for all the engagement. I'm going to give one more shout out to this for those of you that just tuned in. If you're watching in Sydney, you have another opportunity to get in and train with Kyle tomorrow at Unity Gym and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, the 16th and 17th of November. We're going to be going through some kick-ass stuff. It's called his Handstand Bootcamp. He's going to be teaching you about everything that we've spoken about on this show, the 4 key elements to a handstand, and it is absolutely...
You probably should mention that there is only 2 places left.
Yeah, there's only 2 spaces left, so this is your last chance. There's the first 2 people that get through are going to be the last 2 people that get through. This is for absolute beginners and people that have a good handstand as well. We're going to go through some stuff for beginners and for more advanced people as well. So don't think that this is going to be too hard for you, and definitely don't think it's going to be too easy for you. So have you got anything else you want to say, Kyle, before we finish?
That's it. I am super excited to be at Unity Gym. You guys run a class program over here, and like I said, I'm learning a ton about movement. And you know, as I get older, I really don't care about having big muscles or you know, whatever. I want to be a good mover as I age. Man. You know what I mean? I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for all the engagement. Next week, Monday and Tuesday, we are going to do the shows that we promised you for Thursday and Friday this week, which means we're going to be going through some more advanced chin-up techniques, talking about the use of bands, what we think of them, talking about progressive overload for pull-ups. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to move into the strict muscle-up. You guys asked, we're going to deliver. Keep your eye out, and we'll see you on Monday. Enjoy your training.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.